Donna and I are from Walsall Children's Social Care, and we'll be delivering the first half of the workshop. We'll be touching upon JAGS, so the Joint Agency Group Supervision, as introduced by Norfolk in January of this year in response to the Child Safeguarding Practice Review that Bridget spoke about this morning. So briefly touch upon JAGS and the model that they've introduced in Norfolk. Then you'll hear a bit about group supervision and what that looks like in Walsall. So under the family safeguarding model, which we've come up to 3 years now, we launched in September 2020, how we do group supervision in Walsall, and we're really keen to hear your thoughts on how group supervision, or a form of group supervision, could work when we are considering interventions in families' life where neglect is a concern. So we know that often when there's large sibling groups, families that have been in and out of the system, it can be complex, challenging, and what we can all do as a professional network to slow down our thinking, pause and consider about, is what we're doing actually making a difference? So group supervision can be used as a mechanism to do those things, to create a reflective space and to collectively think about our intervention with families. So, group supervisions, to start with, do not replace any formal process or meeting or child in need review, core group meetings. They don't involve the family. Decisions that are made within group supervision should be shared with families to reinforce transparency and honesty. So, they do not replace any other meeting or pathway or procedure. So if there's concerns, safeguarding concerns about children, then we'll guide you to use the dedicated pathways to do that. So any decisions that are made within group supervision should be shared with the family. Decisions are placed on the child's file. Parents can request a subject access request and can see any information or decisions made within that forum. So just to get you started off and warmed up a little bit, what are the key elements of good supervision? So I'll open the floor. Good supervision. So what does supervision look like, and how can it be made to be more effective, or any words, throw words at me. Good supervision? Supportive. Reflective. Non-judgmental. Yeah, non-judgmental. Reflective, supportive. Challenging, yeah, challenge your thinking. Frequent. Listening, being heard. Safe space. Open. Okay. Honest. Okay. So honest conversations, safe place, reflective, supported, feeling heard, feeling listened to, frequent, dedicated space, prioritised, no distractions. So these are all the key elements of good supervision. Now, when we're thinking about group supervision, these are some of the things that we bring in, but from a multidisciplinary approach. So, a bit about group supervision, but joint agency group supervision. So I wanted to relate it directly back to the Child Safeguarding Practice Review that you would have heard about this morning, that Bridget spoke about. Now, Norfolk introduced JAGS in January of this year. They've already won an award, a collaborative award, for introducing and launching this model. Now, JAGS is different to group supervision as we know it in Walsall, but this is just an example of how other regions are using it. So JAGS, Joint Agency Group Supervision, is used as a mechanism to reflect on families where we feel there's drift, delay, lack of progress, complexity. So we will agree that there needs to be a joint agency group supervision. There is the frequency, so you agree at the joint agency group supervision as to whether you need another one or not. So this is a reflective space for joint analysis of assessment information, an opportunity to explore what professionals know about the lived experience of the child, and should help strengthen partnership relationships. So core agencies that sit around that child and that family We need to, in terms of bringing together each other's perspective, understanding each other better, understanding each other's roles better, so in a bid to strengthen that partnership working around the child. So joint supervision is not about sharing new information or making case decisions. Talks about working openly, transparently with children and families. All participants of the group should be made aware before supervision starts. The content of the discussions will be recorded. So, there we go, an example of joint agency group supervision in Norfolk. So, I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Donna, who will talk to you about family safeguarding group supervision in Walsall.
Okay, hi everyone. So a lot of you may be aware in terms of the family safeguarding model in Walsall, and it launched in 2020. So it's a different way of working, and the way of working would include within our teams adult workers, so co-located with ourselves. So adult workers, specialist workers in domestic abuse, victim and perpetrator, substance recovery, mental health, so everything under one roof, giving easier access to the support that's needed at the right time. As part of this, we will come, well, the professional group, the adult specialists, social workers and the team manager will come together on a monthly basis and discuss that child every four weeks, that child and family and what's happening for them. So this is a bit of a diagram of what it looks like. Okay, so gaining feedback, so what are the benefits of group supervision, and feedback from practitioners in terms of what it feels like for them. So feedback has been that it's helped keep the child at the centre of all interventions and decision making. It acknowledges the progress of the family, including identifying strengths as well as any changes to a child's safety. So looking at how risks may increase or may reduce through the interventions that we're undertaking. Using the same motivational skills approach to supervision as we do with families, and that supervision is not just descriptive, it's a discussion around what's happened, rather than going on to give a list of actions and tasks. It's more about reflection and analysis. People speak about feeling safe, and that their professional views and roles are understood and respected, and they all have a voice within that group supervision. It creates an open and honest environment that allows challenge to be made where appropriate, where needed, and it helps us develop shared goals, and we can have those discussions around any disagreements that we may have, and why, and reach a consensus as far as is possible. Also gives one voice and one message for the families that we work with. Just a bit about the individual supervision, how that differs from the group supervision. So in terms of family safeguarding group supervision, what we currently do, so we come together as a professional group with the adult specialists. Individual supervision is slightly different. We do have case management element of that, where we can come together and have some reflection about those families that we're working with. But we also talk about performance, well-being, the relationships with the wider team, any development needs, and career progression. Okay, so just going back to group supervision and what that looks like. So, as I said before, the team manager is responsible for chairing, and they will have the overall decision making. There's clear boundaries in place in terms of the professionals that are involved. It's a multi-agency contribution, as I said. Every partner or every person involved in that supervision has a voice, and their professional opinion is respected. Okay, so there's balance between assessment, analysis and evidence decision making, and coming together and being able to agree what the next steps should look like. Obviously, there's clear management oversight, team managers responsible for chairing, and the overall RAG rating at the end there. So like I say, RAG rating of need is given. All of the professionals come together and give what their RAG rating may be, but actually overall the team manager will make that decision. Okay, so it's quite a lot of information there. So this is what the agenda would look like in terms of a group supervision. So using Cole's reflective cycle, so we'll be coming together to look at what actually happened, what happened for that family, that child, and what's the current situation. Levels of professional involvement, what the views of family members are, what's the impact on the child, and equality and diversity considerations. So that's where we come together initially and think, you know, what's happened, what's gone on. And then moving on to the reflection stage, it may be that we use the GCP2 tool as an assessment tool when we're coming together to reflect on what's gone well, what's not gone so well for that family, and where parents are in terms of the cycle of change, what progress and outcomes have been achieved, and why are we seeing these behaviours changes. Is there anything that's happened that's triggered those behaviours? We'll obviously come together and reflect on what that means for the family and look at any barriers or challenges there that we need to have consideration of. And actually, most importantly, do the interventions, are they having the achieved or desired outcomes? Are they working? Do we need to change some of the work that we do and the support that we're giving to families? Okay, so following the reflection there, we come together and you know, pull an analysis together in terms of what we're most worried about, you know, what are we least worried about, and importantly, is life getting any better for that child? What do we know? What do we need to know more about? And obviously things to consider in terms of cultural values, the use of power imbalances that may be present. So along those stages, we then come to the decisions and actions. So would the family safeguarding model continue for that family? What interventions have been completed? What needs to be completed further? Is there a further identified need for that child and family on the plan? Do we need to add other things into the plan? And the RAG rating, as I mentioned earlier, so we use a RAG rating at the end, which is a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the highest risk, as you can see there. So we'd class that as a red RAG rating if we were most worried about that child within that family. Amber, 4 to 7, and green, the lowest risk of 8 to 10.
Okay. Any questions before we move on around the agenda for group supervision? And we're not saying that this is how we should work. These are just examples of what's working in Walsall at the minute under family safeguarding. This is what they're doing in Norfolk in terms of the joint agency group supervision. We would like to hear and keen to hear your views around how we can work or adopt an approach that's similar to this. So what do you see as some of the opportunities of working in this way, and what do you anticipate will be some of the challenges? So in your tables, or on your tables, can you just consider two of these questions, and then we'll come back in 5 minutes around, so what are some of the advantages, or could be some of the advantages? It's multidisciplinary working at its finest, isn't it? And then what do you see as some of the barriers or some of the challenges? 5 minutes and then we'll come back. Okay, well there's lots. I'll choose one. So hearing different perspectives. Yeah? Okay, this table.
We talked about the ability to discuss multiple families. That from health, we can discuss health and represent health for multiple families and discuss the health across the Northern 19. So instead of us getting involved at ICPC, actually we can support with early interventions. And we talked about like getting the right help for those families that are like reducing A&E tendencies, antibiotic use, so that we can be giving, sharing that information at supervision.
So a real focus on early intervention
Yeah.
there. Okay, yep, good. This table, then one about opportunities. Don't be shy.
Being able to actually, so we were saying that by the time we've shared information,
Yeah.
it's probably too late because we'll come from the probation point of view.
Yeah.
And you were saying that, like, as a social worker, she doesn't ever really get in contact with, like, we don't have to.
We don't have a lot of communication between us.
So if we weren't in that way, it would be better information sharing.
Okay. Okay, good. So about information sharing. Okay, strengthening partnership relationships between social care and probation and other agencies. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say, and education as well. I think we've just dealt with, we also joined up speaking together because I think these sort of the goal we spent this morning really.
Yeah.
The school has so much information on our young people.
Yeah.
And we work with our children every single day. We know them really, really well. So it's good for us to get together to share that information.
Yeah. So opportunity to share information between you if you're meeting regularly. Okay. Good. This table. Yeah, okay, again sharing information. This table?
We were talking about the opportunity to understand the evidence that comes to joint supervision and also provides a safe space for good professional discussion for professionals dealing with very difficult circumstances.
Yeah. And reflecting on the emotional impact, I suppose, some of that work can have on you as an individual practitioner and on each other. Okay, this table?
So that you can track families' progress and ensure that any plan that's in place are meaningful.
Yeah.
Because you can just make sure that it's the right plan
Yes.
for that family, for their circumstances at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, so purposeful planning, intervention, reflective space. Bridget had mentioned earlier that really resonated with me, that we start again and again and again sometimes, and these families are going round and round. So having that thinking time to just reflect is important. Okay, so second question, I'm going to quickly run through because my health colleagues are waiting. What do you anticipate will be some of the challenges? So some of the barriers then to this table, if you can remember, I've got your sheets.
I think we spoke about shift patterns of people. There's quite a mix on the table, so yeah, it's shift patterns and rotas.
Availability, rotas. Okay, yeah, that one's cropped up quite a lot now in terms of availability and workload. Okay, this table?
But also engagement of groups that maybe aren't here today,
Yeah.
aren't represented here today, that
Yeah.
do not understand the benefits of it. So getting those other groups involved
Yeah. Okay.
might be more challenging.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. This table?
Same for us, the availability of the agencies and making sure we've got the
Right people around the table. Brilliant. Yeah, this one?
You said it could be daunting for professionals to be able to be in front of colleagues from other agencies, especially when things happen on there.
Okay. Okay. So, healthy professional challenge or healthy professional conversations around the way things have turned out. Is that? Yeah? Okay. This table?
I think that incentive reviews held by professionals depending on their involvement, then for the time role of professional, if they're in a set mind space, it could be quite difficult to get them to. I think we use the example of like adult social care,
Yeah.
is that their focus is on the adult within the family, and sometimes it can be quite challenging to get an adult social care worker to look at things from a holistic perspective, and there can be that that clash where you've got a children's social worker saying, well, we're looking at the children and the family, and we're looking at it from a holistic perspective, but you'll probably have somebody from adult social care who they don't see the children, the family, they just see the
Connection
adult,
and the
yeah.
impact. Okay, so effective
about-
training
Yeah,
around
it's
group
about
supervision
trying
and being
to
prepared.
change the mindset,
Yes,
really.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's because know, it's not a criticism of adult social care, it's just the way that, it's just been the way it's been done.
Yeah.
So it's trying to change the mindset.
To a think family approach.
And to take a more think family and holistic approach.
Yeah.
You know, with our colleagues in adult social care and other agencies.
Yeah, and we appreciate there'd be a lot of work to do, which brings me quite nicely onto the pilot that we're doing at the minute in Walsall in terms of neglect, and I'm sure that will draw out some findings. I'm going to hand you back over.
Yeah, so just quickly, so wanted to make people aware really, I might have been in touch with some of you already, you might be part of this pilot, so this is a pilot that we're running to extend extend on the family safeguarding model, to also start using the group supervisions where neglect is a feature for families. So this pilot, so it involves five families from early help, 5 families from social care, preferably large sibling groups, because you know how challenging it can be when you're trying to support a family with a number of brothers and sisters, and you know, and their competing needs, and so we're looking at large sibling groups in the majority of these. So what we've done is we identified the team around the child, so all you professionals that are involved with these specific families, and brought everybody together, and we offered a bespoke GCP2 training event for which people were part of, and a group supervision workshop. So basically what we'll be looking at is, and these have happened already, is the initial formulation meetings, so coming together and looking at what that plan could look like, and sharing information about the family, so being part of that jigsaw, pulling it all together and making decisions on how that plan might look and what that family need. So following the formulation meeting, planning meeting, we're looking at then the group supervisions to take place on a monthly basis, which will involve all those, the team around the child that have been identified for that child and that family. What I plan to do is have check-ins at week 6 and at week 12, just so I can get an idea of how that feels for the professionals involved. Are there any challenges? What's working well? And just how it's going. We're going to trial this approach between May and October, and then we'll start some audit activity to look at this cohort of families, children, and in comparison with another, and look at what the outcomes tell us. So that's a piece of work, that's the pilot that's ongoing. So we'll be looking to feed that back as once we start that audit activity. Okay.
So we offer safeguarding supervision on a 3-monthly basis to the 0 to 19 health visiting service, and also the school nursing service. We offer one-to-one supervision for those with child protection cases, or where they've got children that are on a child protection plan, a child in need plan, or an early help intervention. We offer group supervision to staff nurses, because the 0 to 19 service is made up of staff nurses, nursery nurses, and we've also got the health in pregnancy team, and also we do the acute staff, so we do go to Walsall Manor also. Our team leaders have group supervision, and the named nurses have received one-to-one supervision. There are different tools that we use to aid in our supervision, and Kathy's going to talk about those.
Hi, my name's Kathy Masterson. I work with primary care with the safeguarding team in the ICB. And in terms of models, I'm sure you'll be familiar with Cove's reflective model cycle. And we would use this in supervision with practitioners. And it works through the cycle. So practitioners will tell you very accurately and eloquently about the experience working with the child, but sometimes you find that they don't want to move through the cycle, they want to move to the active experimentation planning stage. They want to just jump through, and they don't want to just stop and think and reflect. What we want them to move through the cycle, whether reflecting on the impact of the child, we want them to move down to analyse the risk for that child within the family, what are the other information they're gathering from other professionals that they're working with, and moving into the planning stage where you're working together, because we don't want it to be where you're doing onto them and telling them to do something. We want it to be an engaging process. so it's more successful and that they're more likely to do it. The action might be escalation, it might be using a tool like the GDP2, it might be working more with professionals, it might be referring on to the services. So it's all an engagement process. We also use the 7 Ps. Each of the models will adapt to different practitioners. One model won't suit all. So working through from the presenting problem right down to the prognosis, based on going through all the Ps to find out what is the likelihood of the concerns, and if they continue, what would be the impact on that child. Also using the assessment triangle. Sounds a bit old-fashioned nowadays because you don't hear it that much as you used to back in the day, but it's still there. It is a useful framework and it provides that systematic basis for collecting and, more importantly, analysing the information that they're receiving from all angles, and to support their professional judgments about how to help children and families in the best interest of the child. And it helps them to gain an understanding of developmental needs, capacity of parents or caregivers, and the impact on the wider family and environmental factors on the parents and child. We always have this think family approach. We all work with, we do through the supervision.
Usually, so practitioners, they can bring whatever concerns they've got for discussion to supervision, because the agenda is led by them and what their concerns have got. So they usually bring families where concerns have been identified from doing a visit or a clinic contact. We discuss the 7-minute briefing or anything that's going on with the partnership, right help, right time, completing a MARF. And we also do what we call ward floor walks 2 to 3 times a week. The safeguarding team do that, go over to the acute ward where children might be admitted. I think there's about 7 areas at Walsall Manor, and we give staff the opportunity to discuss any concerns or children that they've got concerns around. Thank you very much for listening.